So imagine this. You're waiting for the results of a huge presidential election, only to find out your government has just been completely overthrown. Well, that's exactly what just happened in the West African nation of Guinea-Bissau. Let's break down how a simple vote turned into a full-blown military coup.
This quote, it really gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? One minute people are casting their ballots, hoping for the future, and the next, the military is in charge. This wasn't some slow motion crisis. It was an abrupt, total seizure of power. So while the entire nation was holding its breath, waiting for those election results, a faction of the military decided to make its move. They detained the sitting president, arrested key government ministers, and basically seized control of the entire state. Now, to really get why this happened, you kind of have to understand the country itself. Guinea-Bissau has had a very, very tough history with political stability. I mean, since it got its independence back in 1974, it's seen over a dozen coups or attempted coups. That context is absolutely crucial because it shows this deep, deep pattern of the military getting involved in politics. Okay, so what was the immediate spark that lit this fire? Well, it was a super high-stakes election. This wasn't just another routine vote. It was a really contentious race that pretty much set the stage for a major crisis. The whole political scene was already explosive before a single shot was fired. You had the incumbent president, Embalo, and his challenger, Diaz, and get this, both of them had already declared victory without waiting for the official count. So when both sides are claiming power like that, you've basically created a political powder keg just waiting to go off. And things fell apart with shocking speed. What started as a democratic election on a Sunday devolved into reports of gunfire by Wednesday, and by Thursday, the day everyone was expecting the results, the whole democratic process was just gone. The military was now in charge. Now, this wasn't some kind of stealth operation. The military made their power grab official. They held a public press conference, basically broadcasting what they were doing to the entire nation and, well, the rest of the world. And this is the key phrase from their big announcement. This military faction declared it was deposing the president and suspending all institutions of the republic. In their own words, they were taking complete control, and they justified it as a move to restore national and public order.
So the military was very careful about how they framed this. They claimed there was this big conspiracy to destabilize the country. They implicated powerful drug traffickers and accused politicians of trying to manipulate the election. So in their story, this wasn't a coup. It was a rescue mission.
But that's not the whole story. Not even close. Because the military's version of events was immediately challenged. The opposition came out with a completely different and pretty shocking counter-narrative. This is just a stunning accusation from the opposition leader Fernando Diaz. He calls the coup fabricated, basically saying it's all a smokescreen to deny him what he believes was his rightful election win. And that raises a huge question. Was this a real military intervention, or was it all just a carefully staged political play? You know, Diaz's accusation actually gets a little more believable when you look at the history here. The now deposed president, Umaro Sissoco Embalo, has been accused by his critics of staging coups before. That past history definitely lends some weight to this idea of a fabricated takeover. Now, this coup in Guinea-Bissau isn't just an isolated incident. To really understand how significant this is, we need to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Because this is just the latest event in a really alarming trend that's sweeping across West Africa. Since 2020 alone, there have been more than 10 military takeovers in this region. This is not a series of random, unrelated events. It's a clear pattern of democratic collapse. The area is now literally being called a coup belt, and Guinea-Bissau is just the newest link in that chain. So what's fueling all this? Well, it's a pretty toxic mix of problems. You've got weak and corrupt leadership that just destroys public trust, a long tradition of military intervention in politics, and deepening poverty that's making people desperate and dissatisfied. Put all that together and you have a systemic crisis brewing across the entire region. And all of this brings us to the biggest, most critical question of all. With every single coup, the democratic foundations of the entire region get a little bit weaker. So as the world watches what's happening in Guinea-Bissau, the larger uncertainty is, what does this all mean for the future of democracy in West Africa?